Hello everyone, my name is Gracie and welcome to a new game glance at a game I've been enjoying playing a lot over the past few weeks called There Are No Orcs. So this game is an RTS roguelike hybrid with auto-battling troops. So there's no picture of it here, but you'll basically be plopping buildings down and then they auto-produce different types of resources including troops, which then march across the battlefield and fight the troops being spawned on the other side. So you have all these different characters, and I don't want to spoil it too much because part of the fun is unlocking the new characters and then seeing how they shake up the gameplay. And there's even several factions which have fundamentally different ways that they play, including their buildings, which are completely different across the three factions. There's a wild amount of stuff in this game, and it makes it really fun to play even with the same character over and over, because you might get different artifacts that change how your game is played. The enemy you're fighting may be different. You might be fighting hordes of demons or just a few strong elven units or something like that. And you get offered all sorts of different things over the course of the game, which is really, really cool. So I just wanted to show this off real quick. This is developed by Base Trade Studio. Let's see, looks like they just have There Are No Orcs in their library here so far. And it's published by Gamera Games, which I'm not, well, I was going to say I'm not familiar with, but it turns out I have several of their games, actually. I've got Railgrade, I have Cross Blitz, which is a fun card game. They've got some. This, I've seen good things about Mercury Abbey. Ooh, Dream Engines, Nomad City's Dream Engines. I do want this game, actually. So yeah, they've got a cool stable of games here, actually. So a lot of these I haven't heard of, but obviously I have some of these on my wish list, and I own some of them. So this is pretty cool. I have to check them out some more. But let's get into the game now, and let's take a look at how the game plays. Now, I want you to know that there are, if you don't want spoilers for the characters, then I'm going to try not to show off what they do, but you will see like images of them. So I'm going to start game here. So I have unlocked all the human characters. I have most of the demons and a few of the dwarves. Now this game is called There Are No Orcs because, as you can tell, there are clearly no orcs anywhere. These green-skinned people with snaggle teeth are humans. These are obviously demons, and then these little green guys with big long ears are clearly dwarves, very clearly dwarves. And so what we're going to do in this game is we're going to choose a commander. So I'm going to pick a simpler commander, and I think what you'll start with is actually this character, but I've been kind of racking my brain about how to start this, and I think I actually want to show off this character first as one of the more simple characters. In my opinion, this guy is actually even more simple than these other characters. Oh, but the shop upgrade is weird with him. Let's play with the Paladin. I'm going to show off the Paladin, and I'll show you how he works, because he also plays fairly simply. So you'll have the character's name. There's a entire list of buildings that the humans can build, that the demons can build, and that the dwarves can build. And in addition, each of the characters has another set of buildings. You can see this is a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 buildings available for this character that they add into that pool. You can even get random buildings from other characters, and sometimes you could even get random buildings from other factions. It can be kind of fun and strange. So this character has a skill and a passive trait, and they all have this. So he has a Divine Blessing. It takes 90 seconds to cool down, and then he can store up to 3 of these at once. Fully restore the HP of all your units in the target area. So he has a heal that just heals up all your units in an area. And then his trait is when one of your units dies, 20% of their max HP is transferred to a random nearby ally, but it does not restore hit points. It just increases their maximum, but it doesn't heal them by the same amount, if that makes sense. So you want to pair this trait with the ability to heal, which makes it so that you can have masses of smaller units go in, die off, and create a few really healthy units that you can heal up, or send in a handful of elite troops, and then as they die, they're making the rest of them even bigger and bigger in health pools, and then you want to heal them up with your skill, or with the monks, which are a unit you can get. There's also gear. I don't want to go too much into this right now. I'm just going to grab a couple of things that I know I want. and then we're going to move on. But you unlock gear as you play. So each time you finish a level, you will get random gear. And then as far as we can tell, the community, the higher chaos levels you're on, which is like the hardest difficulty, and it just keeps scaling up and up and up and up. I've heard of people getting to like chaos 300 or something, which is crazy because the enemy HP here 39% bigger on chaos 13. So the enemies are crazy strong, and I'm not only at 13. But you drop better and better equipment, and these golden ones have special traits on them. You can see this one here, for instance, will work with the human faction because it makes the knights have a special area explosion on their charge attack. So I'll put that one on to make my life a little easier. You can also dismantle pieces, and then you get these equipment fragments, and then you can go in and make, where do you make new equipment? Here it is, the forge. So I can just forge a new piece. So there, I got a rare or like a legendary feat slot for the dwarves because it makes the drones become melee units with 100% HP and armor. So that's pretty cool. So let's get into, we're going to ignore what this other stuff is, but if you ever want to see, like, here's all the human buildings. So you can see they have tier 1, tier 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and then you have the different units as well, which are super cute. Look at these little pixel guys here. Incredibly cute. They show off like how much health, armor, attack speed, the range of their attack, and their movement speed. And you know, there's you know, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's a lot of different units and a lot of different buildings for each character, and some of them even produce special things. So for instance, this character here, this Eldrian here, this paladin-like guy, he has these 4 buildings that other people don't see. And this building even makes a special unit, a paladin, which other factions don't have access to and other characters won't, unless you randomly get that building somehow. So really, really cool. And some people like have really weird stuff, like this guy, again, don't look if you don't want spoilers, but this guy's sort of like a necromancer, and he has a bone piles that spit out enemy bad guys, little hands that they can get and kill and turn into skeletons. This building here changes what units are produced by adjacent buildings from whatever they would normally make into skeleton archers, which is really, really neat. So it's a really cool little game, and I go back and forth between going as high as I can in difficulty, playing around with characters that I like to see if I can make them work. Like, for instance, I am extremely bad with this character here who has like time travel shenanigans. I can't wrap my brain around it, but he's a really fun character. And also like trying to unlock the new ones. So if we just want to say, for instance, this one here, own a unit with over 10,000 HP is how I unlock this character. I haven't managed to do that yet. So I think I would know how to do it. I think I would use this character here and play on like an easier difficulty and just wait, and I could get it to work, but I just haven't done it yet. Some of them are much more challenging, like win chaos 50. Like, well, I'm only on 13 right now, and I've been playing for a while, so some chaser things to work on. So let's go on in. By the way, this whole episode I'll be probably talking pretty heavily during it because I'm going to be trying to explain how everything works. So this is a tutorial game. There'll probably be a second episode where I'll just finish up the actual game. I don't want to play on chaos because I want to not have to think about the random modifiers and the difficulty being that hard. So I'm going to go back to like brutal and play on like, say, expel demons. And so this is still like hard-ish, but not nearly as hard as chaos. So let's go to Brutal, we'll go to Expel Demons. I'm going to play this commander because I think he's actually fairly simple. He just does not one you unlock super quickly. So we'll go into Start Game. Okay, so we're going to pause the game immediately. Now, these are your tiles. Now, you will start normally with just these 4 columns here. I have an extra 3 because of equipment that I start with. These starting tiles plus 3. So let's just don't worry about this stuff right now. You'll also start with a handful of buildings, which is set per character. So he always starts with these 2 farmlands and this Hall of Honor. So let's go over what they do. So the farmland is an economy building. The Hall of Honor is, for instance, military. And you can see here it shows things like this is a type military, this is a type culture, this is a type economy, this is a type economy. So the farmlands every 20 seconds produce 10 gold. So this is a very basic gold production, so that would give me money here so that I can afford to build more stuff. This here, the Hall of Honor. Now this, we can also sell it, but we don't want to do that because this is a tier 3 building, I think, so we won't see these for a while, so we don't get rid of our only one. Every 36.4 seconds, this is going to spit out a paladin. And you can see it's 5% faster for every level 1 building we own. So these here are tier 1 buildings in the shop. That's the only kind of building we will see until we upgrade the shop. So let's talk about that real quick. How do we get bigger and better things? Well, if we want to start filling up our tiles with military buildings economy, we can buy them from the store. When you do that and place it, it will refresh the store automatically. So be aware, if you ever see 2 things you want in the store at once, you're only going to get one of them. So make sure you choose carefully. You can always refresh and try to get them back again, but just note that as soon as I buy one thing from here, these other ones will shuffle back around. We also have rerolls, and you'll have a certain number of free rerolls. And then once you've used all your free ones, it will cost you 100 gold to roll, though the price of that reroll will slowly go down over time. If you're in a hurry, you can just pay the money if it's something you really need. Otherwise, just wait for it to be free. You'll save a lot of money that way. When we upgrade the store is when we'll start seeing tier 1 and tier 2 buildings in the store. So if you've played any auto battlers like Teamfight Tactics from League of Legends or Riot Games, upgrading the level of your characters, your shop or your experience or whatever, is how you get better things, but you'll still see the lower level things as well. So as we upgrade, you can go to level 5. We will then start seeing up to level 5 buildings in our store. We could see another shop of all tier 1s. We could see a shop of all tier 5s. It's just kind of random. But generally, the higher tier buildings are much more valuable to have and are much more expensive. Typically, and for most characters, we will be filling up a fair bit of this with lower level buildings, then getting some momentum going, saving up some money, upgrading the store, and beginning to add and replace with higher tier buildings. And we're going to continue that process until we have a nice big roster of late game tier 4 and 5 buildings for the most part. And by then we should be winning. If not, we might be in a bit of trouble, but it depends on the character. So let's talk about the rest of the map. So you can see we have an enemy wave incoming in 50 seconds. So that is, if we scroll all the way over here, this is the enemy's core. It has 30,000 health. It does attack for 60 damage twice a second. And it can shoot 6 range. 6, the range is kind of hard to explain. You can't really see it. You just kind of have to get a feel for it as you play. There's also towers all over the place, and these have 20,000 health. These have 3,000 health. These will also shoot us for 15 damage and 20 damage, and they have the same attack speed and range. These towers are going to be what sort of limit your progress, because your units initially are going to be coming out sort of 1, 2, 3 at a time, and these towers will one-shot many of your early units, if not all of them. So it'll take a while for you to be able to damage these towers down, but once you do, you not only have a larger area in which your units can march before they start getting killed, but you also get a relic. So every time you upgrade the shop or destroy an enemy tower, you gain 1 relic, and relics, like in a lot of card games, roguelites, roguelikes, etc. Relics, artifacts, whatever you want to call them, they're going to change the game quite a bit. And they can be things like economy-based, getting money for empty tiles. They can be military, like giving a bigger explosion range to a bomb unit you have and it moves faster. It can be something like when you refresh the shop, something happens, or things like that. So there's all kinds of different artifacts. Some will work with only your faction, and some won't. So for instance, there's an artifact that reduces the damage that these towers and the enemy base do. You'll see that across whatever faction you're playing, humans, dwarves, or demons. But then there's ones that are that will buff the power of, say, archers or spearmen or something like that. Well, those are only in the human faction, so you'll only see those with these guys. We also have these neutral areas. Here's a gold mine. If we capture that, then every 20 seconds it will make 120 gold for us. So we want to grab that as quickly as we can and hold on to it. We lose it if there are any enemies inside this circle. We don't control it. So we need to not only have a unit pass through it and take it, but then there never need to be enemies in it or we lose control again. So it will go back and forth a little bit. This down here is the Fountain of Nourishment. So if we have control of this, every 120 seconds, we will produce an empty tile. And empty tiles are produced left to right, top to bottom. Sorry, top to bottom first, but starting in this column from left to right. So it'll go here, 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 and then start back up here, and then go down this column. We can have 84 maximum tiles. So we have 31 right now, and that's because we started with an extra 3. Otherwise, we would have 28, 6 by 4. But we can have up to 84 tiles, which will take us about out to here, which is quite a sprawling empire if you have a big area by then. We also have this thing called the luggage. I could not explain to you why it's called luggage. I don't know. I think the developers of this game were having a fever dream when they came up with some of their ideas, because the luggage is an immortal piece of like a trunk, like a cargo trunk that goes around and absolutely murders anything that comes close to it. The first time you lose a building, so say I have a building out here on the front lines and enemies take it down, you see it has 500 health, the luggage will spawn and it will just wipe everything clean off of about up to here-ish. So only work on your side of the map, which is around here. And then it'll last for 3 minutes and then it'll go away and you will never get it back in that game, in this particular run. So it is a little bit get out of jail free card, but the problem is if you are in a position where you needed the luggage is only going to stall them. You need to fix it while the luggage is out. You have 3 minutes basically to fix your problems, or the luggage will leave and then you're back to whatever problems you were having before. So, again, we have our passive here, which we can look at if we ever need to remember what it does. We have our active Divine Blessing, which is currently only 1 second of it has gone by of the 90, and then we can store up to 3 charges. Normally, I wouldn't have quite this much money, and I'm not going to go into why I have a little extra money, but I'm going to pretend I don't have it and not upgrade the shop yet, because I want to show off the tier 1 buildings. So, let's get started. So how do we want to play the game? So it depends on the faction. You really need to read every building you see, and some of them, even then, you're going to have to play with them to see kind of how they work. So, for instance, what I want to do first here is I want to grab this barn. You see, it costs 200 gold. It's a tier 1 building in economy type, and this is adjacent to the 8 surrounding tiles. So in this game, adjacent does include diagonals, not just orthogonal. So this grants plus $5 or gold when adjacent economy and culture buildings produce gold. So you can see these are making 10. So if I plop a barn down here, now every 20 seconds they make 15 instead of 10. So the barn itself doesn't do anything. So you don't want too many barns, but you do want a barn surrounded by other economy buildings that will make you money. So I'm going to buy farmland, 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 farmland. And then here's the alms house. Now this is a special building for this character. This produces a lot more money, but gets slower the more money you have in the bank. So it's with this character, and when you're in lower tiers, it's good to spend your money. Spend it, spend it, spend it, spend it. So these buildings will produce money quickly. And then later in the game, we're going to be replacing these with a better building in the tier 3 category. So I will grab an alms house. And so I'm going to stop doing economy for now. I'm ahead because I shouldn't have had that extra 1,000. So now what I want to do, so you can see here, this is only working at 55% speed because we have money in the bank. This building, on the other hand, gets faster for every tier 1 building we own. So as we own more tier 1 buildings, which everything here is, this produces paladins faster. So we're down to 27 seconds when before we were at like 34 and something. So now let's grab a swordsman barracks, an archery barracks, and then I'm just going to grab a couple more of these military buildings. I am going to grab another couple. There we go. So there we go. So I'm ready to unpause. You can do a lot of stuff while you're paused, and I would recommend pausing. You can also shift your buildings around, and that is very important. The game doesn't even tell you that, so I didn't know it for my first couple of games. I thought when you built things, that's where they go. So the important thing about that is because there are so many buildings in this game that care about what's adjacent to it, what else is in the column, and what else is in the row. So watch out for that. Tend to be faction specific, but you can't be sure about that. A lot of human buildings care about, well, no, there's ones that care about row, adjacency, and column. Demon buildings tend to care about the row and not the column. And the dwarven buildings tend to care about the column, is what I've noticed so far, at least. So let's unpause. So you can see the first enemy wave isn't coming for a while, and it'll be like 1 or 2 units at first, but it'll start to ramp up to the point where you feel like you are being overrun. So all of our buildings here have a little production gauge, and they all work at different speeds for the most part. And then when they get to the end, they're going to produce whatever they make. So let's just wait just a second here. We'll pause and take a look. So all of our archer buildings have made archers at the same rate, which makes sense. So they're popped out these little guys. They have 15 health. You can see the 3 in the green with the green arrow. That's telling us that it would normally be 12, but I have something that's buffing their max health. Now that is from my equipment. You can see here range unit HP plus 19%. So don't worry about that too much, but that's just telling you that there's something buffing it or lowering it if it's a red arrow. Has 0 armor, so he doesn't reduce damage taken. He does 7 attack damage. His attack speed is every other second, so he takes 2 seconds to shoot once. His attack range is 4, so you can see the problem with that is these guys' attack range is 6. So they will be able to shoot 15 damage, which is exactly 1 shot onto the archer before the archer is even in range. So these first few troops are probably going to die without having done anything at all. But you can't just not build any of these because we want to capture this, and then we want, when their units start coming out, we want to be able to stop them. So we also have our swordsman. This is our frontline guy, 24 health, 4 of which is being buffed. 7 attack, it would normally be 5, but again, I have equipment that's buffing melee unit HP, melee unit attack, 26%. And then he has attack speed of 0.5, attack range of 0.8. So his, I don't know what 1 range is again, but he attacks a little less than a range. And movement speed of 1. And then we have our almighty paladin with 95 hit points, 6 armor, and 13 attack. Now he attacks very slowly. He attacks only every 3 seconds. But he hits pretty hard. He's pretty tanky. His attack range is a little bit longer because he's got this big war hammer. And then he's got a move speed of 1. Now he heals nearby allied units for 5 HP when he attacks. So just him swinging his hammer does a little lay on hands on everybody around him, which is really cool. So you can see this paladin is pretty crucial in the mid game for this character's trait, which is that when units die, they transfer maximum HP to another unit nearby, a friendly unit, but they don't heal them. So we need to be healing them back up with our power or with other effects like this Paladin's heal on hit, or the Monk, which is a tier 3 building that makes little healer guys that come out. So there's all sorts of, and that's just this character, you know, that's just this character. There's so many different ways to play this game with the different equipment, the different characters with their actives and passives, and then the way you get like the, are they called relics? Yeah, relics really can change the game. You might get a relic that says, you know, your swordsmen have tons of extra attack damage and attack speed or something. And then you're thinking, well, do I upgrade at this point, or do I leave a bunch of tier 1 swordsman barracks out on the game, on the battlefield, because they're actually really quite good? Like, when do I upgrade or replace those? So it's a very, very cool game. I'm going to grab one more. I'm just going to swap these so there's melee sort of interspersed. We'll grab one more range thing. Another almshouse, because again, these produce faster when there's fewer things around. When you have less money, sorry. So I'm going to go ahead and put these next to the barn, because the barn's going to make them make 5 more gold. Actually, technically, these are never faster than the farmland. So technically, these are better away from the barn because they're only going to get worse. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's unpause. Let's watch our units go to work. Now, they're going to auto-target. We don't control them at all. And so as soon as this swordsman enters this, we now capture this. So this is beginning to produce gold for us. And this tower killed him. Now this paladin's going to get wrecked. Now we've also captured this one. This guy's dead. And paladin's dead already. Now you can see these ones aren't close, but there. So that one died. So this one actually gained a small amount of max HP. It went from 15 to 18, but it didn't heal that amount. So it's still going to die in one hit. But this will be really important later when you have big hordes of your units. And the ones in the front are being killed off, giving the ones further back maximum HP. And then further back from that, you have like healers. So by the time those middle lane units get to the front, they have more HP than the ones from before them. They can last longer in battle. So I've noticed with this character, I tend to win because there'll be just a big old blob of units that just have a lot of health. Just overwhelming the towers, which is pretty fun. Now I'm going to get... now these still produce more money in the long run, even if they're slower over time, because they're producing 40 gold. I'm not going to build any more of this. So we can see here that the enemy have produced their first units. You can also look up here and see what they're producing. So right now we know that it doesn't have a timer, but we know that every so often the enemy core is going to spit out these lemures. So these are all they're making, but this roster will expand as we play, and we'll be fighting not just these little tiny fast little demon guys, but maybe some armored guys and some ranged guys, and then maybe some flying ones, and then maybe some big like tyrant thing that's stomping around. So there's all sorts of fun different enemies that will start showing up, making your life difficult. So this guy's trying to get involved. Now he's a 12 health, no armor, attack of 3, attack speed's not bad, 1, and attack range of 8 and move speed of 1.5. So it's 50% faster than our units. So you can see he's going to zip on in here. The archers are having trouble hitting him because he's so fast. So we've lost this, but he'll go and recapture it for us. So we've got all of another wave of units has popped out. So they've gotten a little bit of damage on this tower, but I'm not expecting this to ever take out these towers. The enemy will grow and evolve faster than this can do anything to them. So let's stop real quick. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade. This is a little bit early for me to be able to upgrade, but it's because I had that extra money, so I'm just going to use it. So when we click on this, it's going to give us 7 additional empty tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, sorry, it's 7 by 4 at the start, not 8. My bad. 28, that makes sense. So when we do this, it'll give you 1 column worth of tiles. In this case, it'll go here and here, and a relic. So we go ahead and do that. Plus, then we'll start seeing tier 1 and tier 2 buildings in our shop. So let's click that. It takes a little while. It's not too bad. We have lots of other buildings, and you're welcome to read them and decide how you want to use them. They all have purposes. Even buildings like this that you would think, why would I build this? There's reasons, trust me. Trust me, there are strategies involving every building in the game. Our paladin's recaptured. Okay, so our upgrade is complete. So you see we gained a whole bunch of tiles, and I can freely move these things around whenever I want. I don't need to at this time. We also got a relic. So we have the following. War Scythe. Spearmen deal plus 300 damage, plus 300% damage to enemies with 0 armor, and it would grant us 2 free spearman barracks. The loot is, if the number of tiles has reached the limit, monuments produce 300 gold instead. So this is a thing that starts making us tiles. Or coconut shells. Stables also produce 2 swordsmen and grants 2 stables. Now, I actually like all 3 of these, so it's kind of tough to decide, but I do want to play with the knights because I do have this legendary equipment that gives them area explosion. Coconut shells, obviously a reference to the way they do the hoof sound in movies, is where they have coconut shells and they plot them on like dirt or sand and it makes the... There we go. It's my bad impression. So if we grab this and then pause, we have 2 copies of this free building here. One thing people have asked for is if you have multiple free buildings, like if I get another thing that gives me free buildings, it just goes on top of this and I can't switch between them. So you have to like use them in the order they're in the stack, which is a little annoying. I wish you could like click like a tab and cycle through your different free buildings. It's not a thing that happens that often, but it does happen. Now, stables. This is a tier 3 building. One of the reasons I was excited about this is because I'm just now tier 2 and I've got these tier 3 buildings. Production night, plus 30% production per adjacent economy building. So what we want to do is move all these buildings out of the way, and then we're going to put a stables here and here, because both of these are now adjacent to 3. You could do something like this, and it would produce knights very quickly, 340, but I'd be giving up my bonuses to my income, so I'm okay with having, say, like a core of economy buildings and then stables sort of on the periphery. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's hit play on that. I'm going to go ahead and cycle this building. Okay, here's a wonderful building. So I'm going to move this, and I'll show you how this works. So this building is called the Armory. This is a really cool building. This converts units produced by buildings in the same column, so up and down, from swordsmen or archers into spearmen and crossbowmen, which are basically just better versions. They have a little more health, damage, armor, etc. So what's going to happen now is let's let one of them produce. Okay, now I'm going to pause. Now, so instead of spitting out archers, which we can't see because they're all dead, we now have crossbowmen. So these have 18 health, 2 armor, and they attack for 8 armor-piercing damage. And they attack a little slower, but have a little bit longer range. But I would say overall these are better units. They also fire like straight ahead, whereas the archers shoot like in an arc, and so they can shoot at a unit and it miss because the unit's moved by the time the arrow lands. These guys don't tend to miss as much because their bolt goes straight, and so things tend to just collide, which is great. Now here's an interesting thing as well. Now do you see how we took an artifact that makes it so that our stables, when they produce a knight, also produce 2 swordsmen? So let me show you something interesting you can do with this. If I put this armory in this column, it says units produced by buildings in this column change from swordsmen and archers into spearmen and crossbowmen. This will actually change the swordsmen that pop out of these stables into spearmen instead, which is a really cool little hack you can do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop, probably leave these archers as archers. So now everything in this column will be the upgraded. So I'll still be making archers here, but this will be crossbow, spear, 2 spears, 2 spears, and crossbow out of this column now. So we're going to have much more powerful troops and a fair few of them because of the stables. So here goes the knights using their charge attack. So they charge in, they do a little AoE, which doesn't matter when it's just the tower, but when they start hitting demons, it'll matter. And they're just working away. You know, I've got thousands of damage we need to do here. Here comes another set. They're so cute. Look at them. Oh, this just produced, so we have an extra tile. And then here's a special Eldrian unit here. This guy has the Altar of Light. Every time it produces, so it probably takes 25-30 seconds, somewhere around there, it just revives the most recent unit that died. Now, a lot of the time, that's going to mean it's just making a random spearman or archer or somebody that died. But if you strategize and place your buildings in the right way, have the right upgrades, or perhaps they've been being buffed by your passive, the units coming out of there might be a paladin. It could be a unit that received multiple maximum health buffs from other units around it dying. Or we could be eventually selling all of our cheapo buildings that make little, like, kind of crappy units and only have really strong things, like, say, a Griffin Aviary. And then every time a Griffin dies, a tier 2 building, which is cheaper, is just spitting those back out. And they might be buffed because of his power. So let's grab one of these Altars of Light. So that is really good. We've also got Spearman Barracks. Spearman Barracks are cool because they produce Spearmen faster and faster over time. So they start making units at 25 seconds, but then it goes up to 250% speed. So eventually that will get much, much faster, and they're spitting out Spearmen much more quickly just to fill the front lines. So I'm probably going to grab one of those. And I'm out of money. I can get another armory and have yet another column of cheap buildings that are making the next level up of units. But at this time I don't have the money, so I need to unpause and just let things happen. So I think what I'm going to do here is, I would say that for the most part I've explained everything that happens in the game. The rest of it's up to you to see the different characters, the different playstyles, all the different relics you can get. There's a little bit of variation when you fight. There's 4 different enemies you can fight, and they do feel different when you fight them. The demons tend to have big clumps of small units that are fast. And then like the rebels will send out more like a mixed group like this. And then there's the elves, which send out smaller numbers of units that have a lot of health and hit really hard. So it's interesting. The game does feel very different as you play the different factions and characters. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this episode to an end here. This will be episode 1 of probably 2. I'm going to come back for a second episode, and what I'm going to do there is I'm just going to probably play out the rest of this game, just in case anyone really wanted to just see the rest of the gameplay with a lot less tutorial in it. I'll probably still explain my thought process, but I'll be much less verbose. So if you did enjoy this tutorial, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. The dev seems very responsive to this. I'm very happy with the devs for this game. They seem like they really care about I don't know how many there are, but however many there are, they seem like they really care about the players, and I think they've got a really interesting little formula here. I've got like 32 hours in this game already. It's a great game to be playing on the side, like while I'm watching something on the side, or when I'm editing videos, or just like a quick 15 minutes, because you can also I think you can't leave in the middle of a game right now, but if you know what you're doing, you can get in and out of a game pretty quickly. I would say if you're trying to unlock stuff or pushing those chaos levels up, you might want to bank a little more time for a mission here. But really fun game. I would highly recommend it. I got this game for like under $9, and I've already played 32 hours, so I got my value out of it. So thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe. Come on back for the next episode if you want to see more gameplay. Check out my other series. I do a lot of Age of Wonders. Yeah, they do a lot of Age of Wonders. I also have a playlist of New Game Glance games, which is games like this that are either underappreciated, just came out, early access, a demo, a key I get early, something like that. Some kind of like, you may not know about this game is kind of the theme of that. And it's usually just games that I like that I want to show off to you guys. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in episode 2.